welcome to an episode of Atomic Vinyl Reviews. My name's Jacob, and today we've got another unboxing video. Let's get right into it. I actually am not 100% sure what's in this box. I have a good idea, but I'm not gonna claim claim whatever it is until we actually get a good look at this thing and see what it is. So yeah, getting right into it. Oh, it's like a game of Pass the Parcel. There's some more stuff in here. Let's have a look. Oh, I think I know what this is. Bubble wrap. Get rid of that. Okay, let's hope it is all intact. So, you guys, let's take this open. So, lately there's been a lot of hype online about, first it was hype about there being a bootleg King Ghidorah Showa version. Turned out that one is likely a fake, maybe not, maybe it's an authentic bootleg of an actual Monster Arts that may be coming out, maybe not. But there was some confirmed bootlegs of special color version King Ghidorah figures, and I've got a bit. I'm pretty much convinced that this thing is that Ghidorah figure. So let's take a look. Normally a brand new SH Monster Arts King Ghidorah figure costs, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars these days. They go for a lot. However, this thing I got for very cheap. I got it for like 80 Australian dollars, which in American dollars is closer to 50, I'm gonna guess. Or 60, something like that. So very, very cheap for a figure like this. And here we go. Oh my god. So, let's hope this guy is intact. Ooh, okay. So here are the heads. Very loose jaw ball joints. Comes in pieces. Now this guy is actually kind of hefty already. Very nice gold too. Wow. So give you guys a good look at that just quickly how it comes. So wrapped in paper in a really beat up box, but the figure actually seems really intact. I mean, these are the wings. Very light wings. I mean, compared to the recent King Ghidorah 2019 figure that I unboxed, these wings are tiny. So they would just slip on here, so that's really cool. Not bad looking, actually. Now, a little bit of a letdown with this figure is that the wings, you can see the articulation joints on the back. They don't have like those little sleeves, which the proper version is meant to have. So that's kind of odd. His toenails look a little bit lumpy, like his feet don't look as sort of well defined as the other version, I think. I'll bring in that one in a sec to compare. I just kind of gonna get a good look at this thing. Got the twin tails, which is always cool. Yeah, so I'll put this guy together in a sec. But let's take a look at this other little bag here, because he does, or at least he should, come with beams, which is really cool because my previous Ghidorah, my not special color version, didn't come with beams. They actually, I got it secondhand without them. Oh, nice! So, take a look at that. It comes with a stand, all these little bits, and the beams. So the special color version comes with 2 yellow ones and a blue one, kind of like the beams that you'd see for Mecha King Ghidorah. Okay, there we go. See that bag? So what we get in here is we get a stand for this guy. Kind of a dirty looking stand, actually. Take a look at that. There we go. It looks a little bit dirty around the logo. I don't know why that is. But there we go, yeah. It's just dusty, so this is an old thing. It does actually say, Bandai 2015, and it has all the licensing stuff written on it, as if it were the real thing. And then we got this other part of the stand, very firm little stand here, which is good because, you know, this is a King Ghidorah figure. You don't want it to fall the bloody hell over. But we also get, like I said, the beams. Take a look at these. Perfectly decent looking beams. All in different colors though. This one's more of a pinkish yellow, which is a bit odd. This one's the actual yellow, and this one's blue. So check that out. This figure might even just be worth it if you just want some extra beams as well as a Ghidorah. So that's really awesome. Of course, I'm going to give you guys a much better look at this thing in a full review, because this is just my quick unboxing for you guys, and just my sort of first reactions to this thing. But yeah, overall, so far, pretty decent for you know, such a cheap sort of figure like this. Very stiff legs here, though. Oops. You gotta be careful of these wings. Very light wings, very thin plastic, but they have a really nice paint job on these. I mean, check that out. They chose a really nice kind of gold. I think I like it a little better than my other figure. So I'm just gonna, you know, bring that one in now, and we'll have a good look at them together. Okay, guys, so I've discovered something really bizarre. If we take a look at this guy next to our other King Ghidorah, so this one is our actual Monster Arts King Ghidorah figure. Let me take a good look at him there. So hopefully you guys forgot. Sorry about the camera angle. But yeah, if we take a look at these two together, I thought these would just be a recast of one another, because the special color version is just almost an exact recast of the original one, aside from just the wing joints being a little bit improved on the special color version compared to this one. However, this is really, really bizarre, because if we compare the two, they are made of different mold pieces, like not even like a warped different mold piece that has been like warped and changed a little bit in the recasting process. No, it's a completely different sculpt. Like, not all of it, but the body and the legs for sure are not the same as the ones on this Ghidorah. Just the way it's built is completely different, and this is really bizarre. Like, I'll show you guys. Like, the first sort of giveaway is obviously the chest on this one is much wider, and, you know, compared to this one, it's a little hard to show them together because obviously they're really both really wide figures, so it's hard to show you guys them together on screen. But if you look at that, the chest is different on these figures, much sort of more thicker around the middle here, whereas this one is a little bit more still very sort of bulky, but compared to this one, it just shaped differently. Obviously the colors are different. I really like the bright gold on this bootleg here, so hopefully these guys will go in focus. Okay, they didn't want to go and focus that close, but hopefully you guys can kind of get the idea from here. Again, I'm going to do a full review of this thing, so we'll get to see them this a lot clearer. Another big difference, and a really quick one to see, is if you look at the joints for the tail, you can see this Ghidorah here, the original one, has these this whole body piece down here is just one solid piece. Then it kind of divots off to have two joints for either tail, and they kind of both join up there. However, on this newer one, the tail joints is, you can see this back piece here is one solid piece, just like the previous one, but instead of having two separate holes for each tail to go in, they have another piece with articulation that slots into this piece, and then the tail split off. So that is also different and really bizarre. So, you know, the articulation is built differently on this guy. And I've looked closely at the sculpt, especially on the main chest piece here. The very middle section is a little between these two sort of breast parts, or where the outer heads sort of start from. This middle section has more scales and they're a little bit smaller, and you know, you can see little subtle differences. And overall the scaling on this guy is a little bit smaller
They've smaller scales, and the legs are built very differently as well. So bring in our original guy here. If we put them together and we look at their crotch, we can see the original one uh, over here has his crotch is kind of like much more pointed, whereas this one's is much more flat across. And then the legs and how they're built, you can see the original one, the Heisei one, has sort of shorter, bulkier legs, and you can see the articulation in it, and the sculpt is different. And of course, the feet are a lot different. I think the feet on the bootleg, you can kind of tell that it's a bootleg because the claws are sort of a little bit more rounded, but they are built very differently, and it has much finer scaling all round. So yeah, that's really interesting. The wings, on the other hand, the wings seem to be very similar. I am seeing some subtle differences, but I think that just is the I don't I think the sculpt is the same. They cast it a little bit less accurately though. So the cast is a little bit sharper on the original one, but they still look really good uh, on this remade version here. So if you can kind of see the two wings together, uh, it's hard to tell, but the color difference is really evident. But that is bizarre that they have these differences here, and it's also really evident in the back where you can see where the wings are attached and how the line across here is different to this one where it's got this little curve here, but across here that the joint line is just straight. So yeah, there are real differences between these two figures. Even the necks, if you look at the necks on this bootleg, the sculpted detail running down, under the neck here is also different. You can see on the original one, he's got this sort of slight detailing running down the middle of those necks there, that like line running down the middle of them. This one, it's sort of finer, smaller ones, and they're more smooth, which could be a part of because of the process of them doing recasts. But when you put them together in person, it really looks more as if these are just completely different sculpts. So that's so interesting. So the wings and the heads are definitely the Heisei versions. They're the same on both these figures. And so are the tail like spines, I think. So let's take a look at these tails here. And sorry I haven't put this guy fully together. I'm actually having trouble getting this tail piece to the ball joint to go in, as well as this head to go in. They don't seem to want to pop on very well, unfortunately, so I may have to use a hairdryer to heat up the body to put in that ball joint, because I really don't want to snap this ball joint, because one of the main issues with this bootleg here is some of the ball joints work really well, like the necks and the heads, but the main body and some of the ball joints in the legs, they have a lot of trouble moving, and it feels like I'm bending the actual little joint piece instead of like the ball joint rolling freely when I try and move some of these things, like one of the legs here. So I really don't want to break it. So I'm going to use heat to try and rectify that and to help put these pieces in without damaging it. But now looking at these tail pieces, they look bigger on the original one. So this recast one, they look a little bit smaller, which is interesting. But other than that, this sculpt seems pretty much the same. Hard to tell. But these are not the Showa. The Showa Ghidorah tails, I'm pretty sure, didn't have this exact design. So this is still the Heisei look, but... So that is so weird. Now, what I'm going to put on screen right now for you guys is the images of this bootleg Showa King Ghidorah Monster Arts figure that have been going around online. And the consensus on this thing has kind of been, or at least, well, not the consensus, actually people have been all over the place saying this is this and this is that and this is whatever. But people have been saying either that it is a custom sculpt that somebody has done, that, one of these sellers on one of these sort of slightly dodgy sites decided to put up as a image trying to as the image for trying to sell this thing, but that it's actually just somebody who made a custom. And other people have been saying that, look, it's got all these different joint pieces, and Bluefin have sort of confirmed that there might be a Showa Ghidorah in the works for Monster Arts coming up in the near future. So they've said that that one is a bootleg of that. But then this thing arrives on my doorstep, and it is just a spanner in the works because this has those same slightly different joints and stuff as this maybe bootleg, maybe custom, but it also has the Heisei heads, and it's all just so weird and confusing. So I'm going to put the images of that on screen, and you can see what this Showa kind of bootleg that people have been raving about kind of looks like. So you can see it there. It's definitely got the same sort of wider chest like this one has. It has the same legs. The heads and the wings are different on that one, and the tail ends have also been changed. But what I think happened, this is my sort of theory about this, is that somebody bought one of these bootlegs. These may or may not have bootleg bodies of some sort of upcoming Showa Ghidorah, but somebody got one of these things and basically modified it themselves to look more like the actual Showa Ghidorah. And it's just so weird. So I don't know what the hell happened, how these people got a hold of these molds to make these bootlegs, and where all this came from. But what I might be holding here might be a recast of parts of a future Showa Ghidorah. So I'm super, super excited about that because I really want an actual Showa Ghidorah. And if one of those doesn't show up in a little while, I may be customizing this one to be one of those. So, I'm gonna ponder over this a little bit more, and I'm gonna do a full review of this thing, where I go into detail reviewing it, because right now it's just kind of blowing my mind. I'm like, what the hell is going on? This is bizarre. Just to kind of let you guys know my thoughts about this figure, just in general, what I think of this figure here. We'll put his wings back on for the end of this video because it'll be a little more fitting. What I think about this figure is decent for the price. Like, price-wise, I would totally go for it. Like, I know people are very against bootlegs and stuff like that. I'm putting out a video kind of going over my thoughts about bootlegs and my opinions on them. So you guys might find that a bit interesting. Yeah, just taking a look at this guy. If these pieces can fit on properly, and if I can kind of fix some of the ball joints, this is really decent figure. Like the sculpt work is really nice. The casting of it is not bad, and neither is the paintwork. Like, this gold is really vibrant and beautiful, and I like it a lot more than the one on my original release Heisei Ghidorah here. So I was worried getting this figure that it would kind of be just a little pointless, kind of like that I would just get it basically for this review, and that it would basically just be a complete clone of this original one, and that it wouldn't really be all that interesting. But totally, this has different sculpted pieces. Like, the body on this thing is totally looks like the Showa Ghidorah to me. So that's really telling, guys. Really interesting. I actually recommend this figure quite a lot for anyone looking for a fairly inexpensive, articulated King Ghidorah figure. Like I said, this thing costs less than your typical Monster Arts figure, and it is, fully articulated. The ball joints are a bit lacking in quality. Some of the molding isn't perfect. Like, the toenails on this one look really sort of, they don't look as well sculpted and kind of nice as they do on the other figure. But they don't look bad either. Like, I wouldn't say it looks bad. It's just like, if you look really closely, it's like, okay, that might be a bit cheaper. Another kind of thing that I forgot to mention because I was just so kind of bewildered by all this. Okay, so I hope you can kind of make that out, but it does come with the little time-traveling spaceship thing that, you know, the future people from Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, the 1991 film, that they had an Emmy, transported the carcass of King Ghidorah to be turned into Mecha King Ghidorah with the little time traveling beam and all of that sort of stuff, and yeah, so that's a cool little thing, cool little accessory that we actually get with this one. It's kind of bland looking, and the sculpt isn't super sharp, but it is there. So yeah, if you want a little cheap one of those, you can get it with this thing. So yeah, that's my unboxing of this guy. I'm still got a lot to kind of explore with this thing, but it's so interesting, and I'm really curious what you guys think about this thing, and what are your theories about the upcoming, whether we are getting this as a precursor to a proper Showa King Ghidorah SH Monster Arts figure, or whether this is just some sort of weird custom sculpt that some bootleg company happened to make, and it just happens to be basically of Monster Arts quality. I don't believe so. I don't know. This is really bizarre. Or how this came about, and especially why it's mixed with the special color version parts, like the wings and these heads, instead of having all the parts. I don't know, this is really interesting. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Sorry I've been just rambling on, it's gone a bit longer than I expected and all that, but yeah. Also, if you guys are interested in learning more about bootleg figures and general and that sort of stuff, I did start a group on Facebook called the Godzilla Bootleg and Counterfeit Figures and Kits group, or something like that. It's called something like that. I'll have a link in the description below to that. I think it's really beneficial, even if you're against bootlegs, to have a member of a page like that, because it's really good to educate, all the collectors and fans out there about bootlegs, how to tell them apart from the real deal, and all that sort of stuff. And, sometimes you get cool little things like this, which are actually really, really cool figures that I would actually give a solid recommend to. So, sometimes there are gems out there. So it's cool to just kind of explore that stuff and have a safe space to talk about it without being banned from a group because you dared to bring up bootlegs, which has happened to me before and has been a bit annoying. That's it for this video. Peace out, guys. May all your vinyl be radiated vinyl.